So I'll just say that again really quickly. Step 1, factor out the GCF. If A is negative, then the GCF is negative. So just make sure you remember to factor out a negative if the first number is negative. Step 2, break down the first and the last term. And step 3, cross multiply to achieve the correct middle number. Now, that little star in the bottom is important. If when you cross multiply the number is wrong, then you switch the number. Switch the order of the numbers. So whichever number was on the bottom, you put it to the top. Whichever one was on the top, you switch it to the bottom. Now, if the number's correct, but the sign is wrong, then you just switch the sign. So if the sign was on the top number, you can switch the sign to the bottom number. So on the next page, I'm going to do 4 examples for you, and then I'm going to let you try 4 on your own. And we're going to move forward like that. So copy this down, even if you wrote it before. Write it again. You need to remember this stuff. All right, so let's move over to the next screen. If you didn't finish copying, it's okay. I'll go back at the end for you. So here we go, 1 through 4. We're doing it together. This is a guided practice, so you're not doing it on your own. So let's start with number 1 here. First of all, is there a common factor between 2, 5, and 2? No, because 5 is not an even number. It's not divisible by 2. So all we do is put a line underneath the whole thing, break down the first and the last term. To break down 2x to the second power, it'd be 2x times 1x. That's usually the easiest part, the first number there. 2x times 1x, 3x times 1x, 2x times 2x. It's usually going to be smaller numbers like that. Now, positive 2 is 2 times 1. But the last number is positive, which means it's either positive positive or negative negative. Which one is it going to be? Positive positive or negative negative? If the middle number is positive, then you know it has to be positive positive. Now we cross multiply. Let's see if we get positive 5. 2x times 1, 2x. 1x times 2, 2x. 2x and 2x equals 4x. Is that the correct middle number? If the number's wrong, switch the numbers. So instead of the 2 being on top, put it on the bottom and the 1 on top. Now watch how it works out. 2x times 2, 4x. 1x times 1 is 1x. That gives me positive 5x. Is that the correct middle number? Yes. So my answer is right here in front of me. 2x plus 1 goes in one binomial, and x plus 2 goes in the other. Now let's try to write our solutions to this without doing any work, like we did yesterday on the activity. To solve this one, all you have to do is subtract 2 from both sides, because there's no number touching the variable. So that would just be negative 2, the easy one. Switch the sign, you have the solution. On this one, you switch the sign, which is minus 1, and then you have to divide by the coefficient on the x, so it's a 2 on the bottom. So my two solutions are negative 2 and negative 1/2. So far, so good. Any questions? All right, let's move on. So number 2, line underneath the whole expression or equation. 3n to the second power is what times what? 3n times 1n. Positive 2 is 2 times 1 or Negative 2 times negative 1. Which one is it going to be? Since the middle number is positive, we know we're going to use positive 2 times 1. Now, before writing my result, this is easy to do in your head. 3 times 1 is 3. 2 times 1 is 2. 3 plus 2 is going to give me what? 5, the correct middle number. Once your middle number matches, your answer is in front of you right here. So the first binomial is 3n plus 2. The second binomial is n plus 1. What's up? What we're about to do is figure out what the solutions to to these two binomials are if you would make them equal to 0. So before I show you the shortcut again, for those of you that are confused, if you make 3n plus 2 equal to 0, there's only two steps. Minus 2 on both sides and dividing by 3. That's my answer, minus 2 divided by 3. Over here, there's no number next to the variable. So all you have to do is change the sign and you have your solution. Any questions so far? All right, 3 and 4, again, together. These four are going to be on your own, so don't go ahead and try to do it on your own. Just follow it with me. On number 3, what does 2t to the second power break down to? 2t times 1t. Negative 5. If this number is negative, then the signs have to be different. One has to be positive, one has to be negative, because a negative times a positive is what gives you a negative. Up here, both of these were positive at the end. That's why it was plus plus or minus minus. So now we know what signs we're going to put. The only way to get 5 is 5 times 1. So you know the answer has to have a 5 and a 1 there. Now we cross multiply, see if we get positive 9. If the number's wrong when we do, we switch the numbers. So let's try it. 2t times negative 1, negative 2t. 1 times positive 5, positive 5t. That gives you positive 3t. Is positive 3t in the middle? You want me to go? I'll go. So that gave us the wrong middle number. If the middle number is wrong, switch the number. So instead of the 5 being on top and the 1 being on the bottom, switch that up to be the 5 on the bottom and the 1 on top. Now, 2t times positive 5, positive 10t. 1t times negative 1, negative 1t. 10 minus 1 is definitely positive 9. So now that we have the correct middle number, our answer's in front of us here. 2t minus 1 is one factor, and t plus 5 is the other. So let's write down our two solutions. If you have t plus 5 only in there, our solution is negative 5. If you have a number touching the variable, it's going to be a fraction answer. So change this sign, positive 1, and divide by the coefficient. So far, so good? All right, last example before I let you try these on your own. Lined underneath the whole thing. 3g to the second power is 3g times 1g. Now here we have positive 2. Remember, when the last number is positive, it's either positive positive or negative negative. Which one is it going to be on this problem? Anybody? Is it going to be positive positive or negative negative? Negative negative. Why? Very good, because the number in the middle is a negative. Thank you. So now we know it's going to be negative 2 times negative 1. Now, if we cross multiply, that gives me negative 5. I know that's not going to work. So instead, let's flip the numbers. And let's see if it works out. 3 times negative 2, negative 6 with the g on it. 1g times negative 1, negative 1g. Negative 6 minus 1 is negative 7g, the correct middle number. So now, one binomial is the bottom part, 3g minus 1, and then we have g minus 2. What are my two solutions going to be? Anybody can say it out loud. Give me my two solutions. 1/3 and what? And positive 2. Simple? All right. Now, when you try these problems on your own, these 4, on your own, here's a little hint. One of these answers, one answer is prime. One answer is prime, meaning one of these 4, when you try the factors, it doesn't work, ever. So you figure it out. Try it on your own. I'll give you 5 minutes. All right, so on the first one here, let's break down the first and last number because there is no greatest common factor. As a matter of fact, on all 4 problems, there is no common factor. So we're already skipping to step 2 on all of these, which is just break down the first and the last number. Now remember, if the last number is positive, it's either positive positive or negative negative. So I know it's going to be negative negative because of the middle term. Now, 5 times 3 is 15. Cross multiply and you get negative 5t, negative 6t. Put them together and we have negative 11t, the correct middle number. So one binomial is the top part, which is 2t minus 5, and the bottom part is the next binomial, t minus 3. Now let's write our two solutions down. Positive 3 over here because there's no number in front of the variable. Over here is going to be a fraction answer. Plus 5 divided by 2, so positive 5 divided by 2. All right, let's move on to the next one. Number 6, 2x times 1x is how you break down 2x to the second power. Now break down the last number. 6 could be 3 times 2 or 6 times 1. So if 3 and 2 don't work, after flipping it, I have to try 6 and 1. So let's try it. This is a negative number, so one of these has to be negative. Now let's cross multiply. 3 times x, 3x. 2x times negative 2, negative 4x. That equals negative 1x. Is that the correct middle number? No. So if the numbers are wrong, switch the numbers. Instead of the 3 being on top, put the 3 on the bottom. Now let's cross multiply. That gives me 6x minus 2x, which is positive 4x. Is that the correct middle number? No. We tried 2 and 3 and flipped 2 and 3 and it didn't work. So the answer is not going to have a 2 and a 3 on it. So let's try 6 and 1 because we have to. 6 times 1, one of them negative. Cross multiply and you get negative 4x there. Again, not the middle number. If I flip it and put the 6 on the bottom, I get negative 12 plus 1, which is negative 11x. Is that the correct middle number? No. If there's no other way to get 6, and you tried 3 and 2 and 6 and 1, and none of it worked, you cannot factor this problem. This answer is prime. All right, let's move on to number 7. We have 2y to the second power. which is 2y times 1y. Now over here we have negative 1, which is negative 1 times 1. Now, pay attention. Cross multiply. 1 times 2y. Michael, pay attention. Is 2y. 1y times negative 1. Negative 1y. 2 minus 1 is positive 1y. Is positive 1y my middle term? Yes, it is. So my binomials are 2y minus 1, the top portion, and y plus 1 on the bottom here. So my two solutions, my x-intercepts, my roots, my zeros, all that means the same thing, are negative 1, and the one with the number touching the variable is a fraction. So change that sign, positive 1, divide by 2. All right, let's try number 8 now. Line under the whole equation. Now look at that first number. That first number could be 2 times 2, but it can also be 4 times 1. So we're going to try 2 times 2 first. If it doesn't work, you have to try 4 and 1. So 2h times 2h is 4h to the second power. Now let's break down the last term, negative 5. Negative 5 is 5 times negative 1. Now let's cross multiply. 5 times 2h is 10h. 2h times negative 1 is negative 2h. 10 minus 2 is positive 8. h. We have the correct middle number. So now one binomial is 2h and a positive 5. Two h and a positive 5. ¿Cómo está? And the other one is 2h and a negative 1. Write down the two solutions without doing any work. That's it. Yo lo tenía que hace mucho tiempo. ¿Por qué? ¿Te hace falta? All right. So, the two solutions. Change this sign. Divide by the coefficient. Change this sign. Divide by the coefficient. Any questions so far? All right, on the next 4, I do the first 2, and then I let you do the first 2. And we're done with this review. You can start the classwork. So here goes. These questions are different than the other ones because all these questions have a GCF, a greatest common factor that you have to take out. So let me remind you how to get the greatest common factor. It's 12, 22, and 20 that go in the T-chart. Now GCF means greatest common factor. The key there being common. If they all have to have it in common, then don't break down the big one, break down the small one. So 12 is 12 times 1, 4 times 3, and 6 times 2. Now, 12 can't give you 22. 4 can't give you 22. 6 can't give you 22. 3 can't give you 22. The only one that can give you 22 is 2. So we know the common factor is going to be 2. Now we factor out the 2 and divide to figure out what's left in your parentheses. 12p squared divided by 2, 6p squared. Negative 22p divided by 2, negative 11p. Negative 20 divided by 2 is negative 10. Now, what's in the parentheses, we do this process for that we've been doing. So we break down the first and the last number. 3p times 2p is 6p to the second power. And negative 10 is negative 5 times 2. Now, I already knew the correct answer, so I put it in the correct order. But you might have to switch numbers if you put it in the wrong order. So 3 times negative 5, negative 15. 2p times 2, positive 4p. If you put those together, it gives you negative 11p. Negative 11p is the correct middle number. So my two binomials are 3p plus 2 and 2p minus 5. Ya te- Yo no lo uso, yo lo usé como un día. Y después le quité todo porque hace mucho ruido. Eso es bueno para hielito y eso, digo, ¿no? Okay, guys, so the solution to the first binomial, if you would make it equal to 0, is negative 2 over 3. Why? Because the two steps are minus 2 on both sides, divide by the coefficient. Same shortcut here. If you see 2p minus 5, your answer is positive 5 over 2. Any questions so far on the first one? All right, this next one I'm going to do on my own with you, and then these two you're going to work on and I review after. So here we have 8, a 20, and a 48. Remember what I said, do this T-chart, because if not, some of you guys would have gone straight to dividing everything by 2. And 2 is a factor that's in common, but it's not the greatest common factor. So break down the small number. 8 times 1, 4 times 2. Now 8 can never give you 20 using multiplication, because 8 times 2 is 16, 8 times 3 is 24. It skips that number, it doesn't get there. So we know it's not going to be 8. The next biggest number you can try is 4. And I know 4 works for 20. I know 4 works for 48. So the greatest common factor between 8, 20, and 48 is 4. Now let's see what's left in there. 2z squared plus 5z minus 12. Now we do the same process we've been doing all day today. Break down the first and the last number. So 2z times 1z is 2z squared. And negative 12 is negative 4 times 3. Now in this case I put it wrong on purpose, so watch. Negative 4 times 2z, negative 8z. 1 times positive 3z. If you put these together, it gives you negative 5z. Is that the correct middle number? No. If the number's correct, but the sign is wrong, all you got to switch is the sign. So put the negative on the 3 and the positive on the 4. Now that'll give you positive 8 minus 3, which gives you positive 5z, the correct middle number. So now we know 2z plus 3 is on, minus 3 is on top. And we have 1z plus 4 on the bottom. So my two solutions, change this sign, divide by the coefficient. In this case, there is no coefficient besides that 1, so we just change that sign. Now, this is your solution if I say factors, but there's something missing from it. You can't forget, whatever you factor out at the beginning, bring it down at the end. Now, before I move on, let's talk about something that you guys saw on the worksheet yesterday, on the activity yesterday. These two are solution. They could be calculated into solutions using the zero product property. Why? Because you can make it equal to 0 and solve for what letter? Z. But over here, this 4, Does that have a z on it? No. If you make 4 equal to 0, can you solve anything? Can't do anything. So that tells you you can't solve unless there's a variable, which means this only has 2 solutions. That 4 doesn't become a third solution. The only time that 4 would be a third solution is if there was a letter on it. If there was a variable on it, then the third solution would be 0. Because if you put anything with a letter equal to 0 and divide, it's going to be 0 divided by something. And 0 divided by anything is always 0. So keep that in mind. If it doesn't have a variable on the number you factored out, then there's still only 2 solutions. All right, try the next 2 on your own. These 2. I'll give you a few minutes and then we'll review them and start the classwork. Anyways, right now. All right, guys, let's review those questions. So on the first one, 18, 15, and 18. I'm just going to write 18 and 15 because they're the same numbers. Now, break down the 15. 5 times 3, 15 times 1. The only factor that can go into 18 here is 3. So we're going to factor out a 3 and divide to see what's left in here. 18h squared divided by 3 is 6h squared. 15h positive divided by 3 is positive 5h. And negative 18 divided by 3 is negative 6. Now we set up our cross multiplication here. 2h times 3h is 6h to the second power. Now let's break down the negative 6. Negative 6 will be negative 3 times 2. Now if we cross multiply, 3 times negative 3, negative 9h. 2h times positive 2, positive 4h. Now, if you put those together, it gives you negative 5h. Is that the correct middle number? No, because of the sign. The number's correct, but the sign is wrong. When that happens, all you have to do is switch the sign. So instead of the negative being on the 3, we're going to put the negative on the 2. Now that'll give us positive 9h minus 4h equaling positive 5h, the correct middle number. So now we have 2h plus 3 on one binomial. On the next binomial, it's the bottom part here, 3h minus 2. And you can't forget at the end to bring down what you factored out. So these here are our factors. Let's try to come up with solutions here. Change the sign of the 3, put it over the 2. So negative 3 over 2. Same concept over there. Change the sign of the constant, so it's positive 2, divide by the coefficient, 3. All right, so now, on the next question, 12, 34, and 28. Now, I'm not going to waste my time trying all the numbers because I know that all these numbers are divisible by 2, and that is the biggest factor. How do I know that? Because I know 34, there's only one way to get 34. 2 times 17. Is there any way to multiply and get 17? No. 17 is a prime number. So that tells you there's no other numbers to try out. It has to be a 2. So we have 2 times 6 here, 2 times 14 there. So we factor out a 2 and divide to see what's left in the parentheses. So 6q to the second plus 17q minus 14. Now we can cross multiply and try to get positive 17. So 2q times 3q is how I'm going to break down 6q to the second power. Remember, if that doesn't work out at the end, I still have to try 6 and 1. Now, 14 negative would be negative 7 times 2. Now, if I cross multiply here, let me create space so that you don't get confused with the previous problem. If I cross multiply here, what I get is negative 21q and positive 4q. If I put those together, I get negative 17q. That's the correct number, but the wrong sign. So now we know we just have to switch the signs, and we have the answer. So now, one binomial is 2q plus 7, that top portion. The next binomial is the bottom portion, 3q minus 2. Now let's write down the two solutions without doing any work, just because we know the steps. If 2q plus 7 was equal to 0, the two steps to solving it would be subtract 7 from both sides and divide by the coefficient, 2. Same logic on the next binomial. You have minus 2 as a constant, negative 2 as a constant. Change the sign, put it over the coefficient. Any questions? So far, so good? Now, let me show you what the worksheet is going to look like, because I believe this is the last page. Yes? The worksheet is actually an activity. So if you guys are here in person, I'll give you the copy. One second, let me find it. Oh, I think I did put it in here. One second. All right, guys, here it is. These are the index cards. So the index cards are numbered in red. The answers on the bottom are not numbered. So you're going to have the answers there. So really, you can use this as a matching exercise. You understand? So I want you to match each set of factors with the answers, and that will be the assignment. So let me just show you the whole page. So it's 16 questions, and then here are your 16 binomials. So this is the first day that we do these bigger numbers. So today, I will allow on this activity, if you forgot how to factor, I will allow you to distribute instead. I'll allow you to distribute and then backtrack and get the answer. So if you show me work like this, I will mark it correct. If you show me work like this, right? If you show me work like this, it'd be much better. I'll also grade it. But I will let you do it either way on this one. Clear? So, those of you at home, I'll tell you when to refresh. Those of you here, I'm going to print one for you. Oh, tomorrow will be makeup day. So, tomorrow you make up work all period. Any IXLs you owe me, any worksheets, I can print them for you, send them to you if you need them again. And then Monday, we will take the test on this lesson. The test is going to include everything that we learned up until this point on quadratics. So everything from quadratic vocabulary video on.